Well, greetings once again from inside the gym. Um, in my backyard, I love coming out here for a myriad of reasons, but I like it for a deeper sense of self. There's a philosophical reason for that I do this. There's an element of truth. When I come out here, there's no fanfare. There's no Jim Jennies. There's no meatheads. There's no person I need to impress, except for my dog, Luke Skywalker. Um, it is the closest to truth that I get to come in a physical obstacle um, that I run into on a daily basis, because all of this stuff is inanimate. It requires a amount of skill. It requires amount of drive and an amount of commitment that, if I am to benefit, it is solely up to me. I love that. Either it is a 100% I am in or 100% I am out. I can't middle of the road this because I've learned it's for myself the mirror test every time. Uh, I used to, I love weightlifting. I love bodybuilding. Um, and I would look at myself in the mirror when I did it, and people would ask me about narcissism, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that. There's an element of, yes, I feel good. I want to feel better. I want to be more self-confident. I'm putting so much work in, and I want to see serrations in my shoulders. I want to see my quads get bigger. I want to see a tighter stomach thing. Yes, that is all true. But what is also true for myself is I'm looking in the mirror. I'm hefting weights. If I can do one more squat, then I can do one more squat. I can't lie to that person that's in the mirror. I know. Out here, I don't have a mirror. It's just me. So it's the mental mirror that I face, where I, again, am faced by my own jailer, myself. Can I overcome the thing that normally sets me into my own personal prison? It's hot, it's dank, or it's cold, it's wet. It is a very unforgiving environment, and I've come to adore it because it's mine. I set myself out on a course to have enough equipment to quell my ambition, to quell my drive, and I succeeded hand over foot. And that is something that I truly come to appreciate. Put on some tunes and start letting it rip. The hardest thing is, again, getting out of my comfort zone. I can always go to the exercises that I'm good at. I can always go to the things that I enjoy doing. I can always go to things that are easy to me, and my mental state will always kick me back into that comfortable spot. My goal is to get out of that. David Goggins talks about get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I loved his book and adopted several of his principles. Great read. A great doer of self-exploration, and a great enactment of a human being. He's a great man. So maybe tomorrow or the next day, I'll get back on to, well, I can do it now. So, when my father left, I thought the beatings were going to stop. My behavior did not change, so he would come on the weekends, and I would get torn up because I was misbehaving, class, whatnot. But one of the things that I remember most vividly, I was 9 years old. My mother took me into the garage. She sat me in the back of our Buick Century, gray, with a red pinstripe down the side. Most ironic thing in the world, my father bought me the exact same car as my first car when I was in college, and couldn't understand why I hated it. It seemed like I was ungrateful, but I could not stand the car. So I ended up sitting in the back of my car with my mother. My mother tells me that my father is leaving, and she was obviously very angry and upset. My sister had been crying. I didn't know what was going on. My mom was upset, and the only thing I could think of was, thank God I'm not going to get hell beat anymore. But little did I know he would come back and quote unquote straighten me out. The beatings were severe and brutal because my father was a large man. He's 6'2", ultra muscular, won bodybuilding contests in the Air Force, and he had some of the most brute strength I've ever seen in a human being. And luckily, he passed that lineage on to me genetically. So that's a great thing to have in your pocket. But the biggest tale I remember, besides being told that he was leaving, was the next line was, now I'm the man of the house. And at 9 years old, I'm trying to figure out what that means. I'm the man of the house. And looking back on that, I think to myself, what does that mean? What was I going to do? I couldn't push a lawnmower. I could drag the trash can out, but I was sitting on my skateboard and take it to the end of the driveway. Things were much, much different then, so I had chores, but I couldn't wash dishes with any type of consistency. I couldn't clean, I could dust, but that turned into just fun time. Sit there and use Pledge all over the house, and me and my sister figured out one day that if you put Pledge on the floor, on the vinyl linoleum kitchen floor, that you could slide everywhere in your socks. So that turned into like an ice hockey rink for us, and almost broke my mother's neck when she came home. So it was little anecdotes like that I remember that are just hilarious, but I was the man of the house. I don't know how I was supposed to have a job to provide for my family. I don't know how I was supposed to protect my family. I could build a sword out of a bunch of Legos. I really, really wanted a ninja star from the flea market, but to give those monikers to children back then was commonplace. And there was no second thought to the long-term consequences of having that type of responsibility bestowed upon you without any actual direction. And the worst part about all of this, that was the extent of the talking to. So I ended up blaming myself for my father's leaving. I thought it was maybe because of my bad behavior. At that point, you did not talk about negative things. Mental illness wasn't a thing. Talking things out, communicating your feelings, especially as a male, was not a thing. A woman's role was completely different. Communication as a whole, emotionally, expectation-wise, completely different. And it was stymieing, and again, long-term consequences. but now you get a chance to rise above. So that's what I'm trying to do now. And until next time, probably Monday, I'll see you again. Take care.